the mind is either your prison or your empire. You really destroy yourself, or it's where you build or you become. The metaphor for Kang is he got stranded there, so we can get stranded in our heads sometimes with anxiety, and he didn't just settle for that. He's like, nah man, fuck that, I'm about to dominate.
Because the whole thing with Kang is that he doesn't see time in a linear way. And when he said time is a cage, like, look what he's telling us. If you buy into, I don't have enough time, you're limiting yourself. If you buy into, oh yeah, but this stuff happened in my past, I am this way and I can't be that way, you're limiting yourself. You're using time as a way to keep yourself in a prison.
I got a new tattoo.
Yeah. Show the people then.
Can't even see it properly. I think I'm starting to peel as well.
Well, hopefully Mick can do some wonders and zoom in on it for you.
Oh, still tender. So I got the Mangekyo Sharingan on my stomach. It was even so I use a numbing cream now, which I never had access to before.
Work?
Mate, it's the most dangerous thing in the world, because now that it doesn't hurt that much, I'm gonna start getting loads more tats. So I had this idea a long time ago, like I wanted to get Madara Uchiha's eyes, or like, you know, that, do you remember that part in Naruto where he just comes out into the Great Ninja War, and you know there's that part his eyes are going like this. You can't really get a GIF tattooed on you, so this was the next best thing.
That would be sick though. Imagine that.
I think in the future they will.
Can't you get tattoos that, like, I've seen people with tattoos where you do, like, you obviously tense your muscles and stuff and they move.
I don't think it would work for this, but I've seen those. But so basically there's a Madara Uchiha says this thing to Sasuke one time. He's like, I can see by your eyes, like there's been a lot of pain that you've been through or something like that. And the whole thing about Sharingan is it gets activated through trauma. So it unlocks some special powers. And it's also, there's a special type of Mangekyo Sharingan where you have to kill your best friend to be able to get it. Or that's one of the ways to be.
But you have to experience extreme sadness or loss, isn't it?
And Itachi's eyes change when he kills everyone around him. And to me, like, I've killed off my best friend, which used to be victimhood. Yeah, you like that, yeah?
Hit them with that.
You like that, yeah? And that's why I got the sword there too.
Yeah.
It's a commitment of leaving victimhood behind and stepping into the new power that's brought me. I think Mangekyo Sharingan is like one of the best parts of Naruto. This is like a way to commemorate it as well.
I like the thing that it, like, the loss or the pain or the suffering enables you to go to another level. And it's like, we were talking the other day about Krishnamurti, who's like one of my favorite, like, gurus, even though he wouldn't call himself that. And you said, I like him because he encourages, like, suffering, but not in like a you must suffer. He just encourages you to feel into it, you know, and just like be with the suffering, because there's learning in it. And it's like, to me, that's what the Sharingan represents. It's like, if you be with the suffering, like, it can. And I often say this to people, innit? Like, your suffering or your trauma or the thing that you've kind of, you know, judged yourself for. Like, for me, my depression, my anxiety, the things that I've experienced in the past, they're now like my superpower, because they've enabled me to, like, go on to other things. If I hadn't had that experience, then I wouldn't be sat here now doing this and having the coaching business I have, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's like, to me, that's what the representation is. It's like encouraging it's okay to suffer, like, it's going to happen. And it can also, like, be something really good for you.
And I was telling you a bit about the conversation. I started a fire with objective and subjective reality, and I was trying to point the conversation in the direction of where does objective end and subjective begin. And people didn't like this. Is a group of fucking life coaches, yeah. Let's handle the context. So I started this conversation in a group of life coaches who've trained to be life coaches. I've started this conversation about where does objective reality end and subjective reality begin. And I gave the example of a friend of ours, his partner had got diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer, And he goes, this is a healing mechanism for the body and our relationship. And there's other people who take the diagnosis as like it's a death sentence, blah, blah, blah. So objective reality, an event took place. Subjective reality, it's negative or it's positive. Like the objective, that's what I was getting at. And no one understood it.
Yeah.
I started getting hate straight away. And I just, like, same with the reason I got the Mangekyo Sharingan tattooed is the commitment to leaving victimhood behind. Because I've killed it. It's just changed, right? And it can still come around. Like, you can still get invitations to buy into your own victimhood. Oh, no one gets it. This is supposed to be a group of coaches. Instead, I've respected where they were at. They're coming from a good place. Oh, like, don't be blanket positivity on everything. There's room to feel things. Yeah, you're right. I'm not saying there's not. And there's something to see here. That's when the conversation stopped. No more comments.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
It is funny. Like, I think it takes a lot in a way to see the subjective reality thing, because speaking for myself, moving through life in like my 20s and stuff, everything just looked objective. No, have I got that the right way? Yeah.
Yeah, it looks objective.
It looks objective. It's like it is fixed.
Yeah.
And it's like when you start to see actually like the way I'm painting the picture of the event is with my thinking, with my mind. And it takes a lot to like become aware of that, I think. But it also doesn't have to take a lot.
Yeah, it can be,
because it's a big paradigm shift.
Yeah, it can be instantaneous. And I was having this conversation with our friend Sanjog yesterday. Shout out to you, Sanjog, one of the greats. I was having this conversation with him yesterday about, in objective reality, there's been a shift in the way he conducts himself. I don't want to say too much because I don't know how much he wants to share. And in subjective reality, he's gone from crawling to running.
Yeah.
But in objective reality, it's just this was the case before, now this is the case. The more story you load it with, the harder it will be for you to move on. And it's like babies, right? You know, babies, when they're crawling and then when they start walking, to them, it's just a natural progression. But to their parents, oh, my baby's first steps, oh my God, it's like a sign of independence. That's subjective. To the baby, it's like, I'm just cracking on with
it's just
living.
the next thing, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the next thing. And it doesn't have to be a big deal. This doesn't mean like, you know, just because objective reality is empty and meaningless, doesn't mean it has to be a bad thing. And we can choose the subjective paintbrush that we paint things with. That's why I'm going to have this conversation with someone who I told you about before we just started recording. I'm really aware of, in objective reality, things have been said. What paintbrush do I want to paint it with? And I've got the curiosity paintbrush out. I'm throwing all kinds of paint at that canvas.
Yeah. No, I hear that. So should we jump into our main? It's not really a main
mania.
Topic. Our mania topic. To hint.
Hey, massive spoilers, yeah? Go and watch Quantumania if you haven't watched it already before you watch this. This is your warning.
Yeah,
we're not going to give you another one.
Huge spoilers. Like, if this is a normal spoiler, we're talking like this level.
Yeah.
Because we literally went and watched it yesterday when it came out.
And I've got notes, player.
Me too. So, do you want to start with something? I got a biggie that I want to start with, but I want to see if you've got the same thing.
Yeah. You know what? I'll start. I'll kick us off. How about this? He took his prison and made it his empire.
Ooh.
I love that as a quote. All right. So Mangekyo Sharingan again. Yeah. My prison.
Prison. No. No.
No. Nerd life. I took my prison, which was like all of the victimhood and suffering that I'd experienced, and I made it my empire by really owning it. And I love what Kang's done in this. And by the way, Kang one of my favorite things about him, he's stacked, he's fucking huge, and he looks like he's always chewing 8 chewing gums.
Yeah.
Now I like that. Just a bit of flavor for the character. I like that. It's something you don't see very often. So, he took this prison that he was trapped in, and he dominated and conquered it. And I look at that like the mind, right? if the mind is my prison, which it was, and you can relate to that, the mind was our prison for years, and we fucking hated it. It was so difficult, right? And now it's our empire. Look, we love being... If I said to you, I've been in my head all day, and I've been having a great time, it's going to be very different to if someone says, I've been in my head all day. Like, for me, I can be in my head all day and just have a wonderful time.
Yeah.
Painting all kinds of reality, whatever. This is what I see. Like, the mind is either your prison or your empire. It's either where you really destroy yourself, or it's where you build or you become. And I love what Kang's the metaphor for Kang is like. He got stranded there, so we can get stranded in our heads sometimes with anxiety, blah blah blah. And he didn't just settle for that. He's like, nah, man, fuck that. I'm chewing 8 chewing gums right now. I'm about to dominate. I really like that. It's really fun.
Yeah, nah, mate, that's a sick one. I didn't actually. That's a sick take. I got something else, but that is a sick take because it's like that. It's like, all right, I'm here, innit? I'm here. I'm. To him, he was like, there is no way out. Like, I'm stuck here for the foreseeable. That was the kind of point of the movie, right? He's stuck in the quantum realm for the foreseeable. At some point, he's like, I will get out and I will conquer the rest of the universe or whatever. But he was like, right, I'm here, so let me do what I can, and let me make the best of it. And it's like the journey I've had within my own head is that it's, well, this is the prison that I'm in, the battle that's going on. Why don't I conquer it, and why don't I, make it my empire, or make it my the reality that I want it to be, rather than like playing the victimhood thing, And yeah, that's sick, because it's like he and the other thing with that, actually, that's just coming to me is like, he had no reason to. He could have just chilled, innit? He could have just been like, I'm chilling. I'm stuck here. Like, it's quite fun. Quantum realm, all this stuff going on. I could have just been chilling, just cracked on with it. But he wanted to make it into something, for that was, I guess, for him was fun.
It reminds me of Wes.
Yeah.
Wes went to prison. First couple of years, smoked weed, messed around, whatever. Then he chose to make it his becoming. He chose to make it where he built himself. Shout out to Wes Watson, man. Big love. Thank you for everything you've done for me and the world. I'd love this as a metaphor, like whatever your prison is. So it could be your 9-to-5 job. It could be your fucked up family situation. It could be you got abused when you were whatever age. It could be a plethora of things, an abusive relationship. It was all the above for me. And it is that, like, it can be that. But be careful with that is shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that, man.
Yeah, that's it. And there's another line that he said, which is, it kind of really ties into this. He said that time is a cage. And I was like, oh, because it's so true. It's like because the whole thing with Kang is that he doesn't see time in a linear way. He sees it as like, I don't know, circular or some shit.
Yeah, that's why he keeps thinking.
Yeah, like, so it's like, to him, it's not like this has happened and then that means that's had to happen. And it's like he kind of can experience all of time all the time, is the whole point of the character, right? And when he said time is a cage, it's like, oh shit, look at that. Like, look what he's telling us. Like, if you buy into, I don't have enough time, you're limiting yourself. If you buy into, oh yeah, but this stuff happened in my past, therefore I am this way and I can't be that way, you're limiting yourself. You're using time as a way to keep yourself in a prison. And it's like, the way I was seeing it is that I did that for years. I was in my own cage of time, because I wasn't seeing that, okay, if the past doesn't exist, which it doesn't, it's a reference point. If I only see it as a reference point, I'm now free from it. There is no cage. There is no like, okay, because that happened, now this happened, and now I'm like this. It's like I'm free from that story in a way. I'm free from the prison of the past. And it's like, because the reference of time no longer exists to me. It's just become like it's an event that happened. It's objective. And if I can, almost cut my tie to the story, or of the story, whatever way you would say it, then I'm free from the past. And I love that, man, because it's like, it's so true. Like when you just see time in that linear fashion, yeah, it's a cage, because it's like, you're just going to move through life in the way that's like, okay, now I'm here, then I've got to do that, then I'm going to do that. And you just see it and this is what happened with me. It was like, okay, left school, didn't go uni.
Job, marriage, children, dead.
Yeah, job, marriage, children. But basically, get a job, then next thing's find a partner, and then, okay, you get a partner, live together. Next thing's kids or marriage, if you believe in marriage. Do you know what I mean? Grow old together.
Yeah.
And it's just so linear, and it's such a fucking cage, man. Like, I see people who I know that I've grown up with, where, in my opinion, this is probably my judgment, but they don't look that happy living the life that they're living, but they're living it because they're in the cage of time. And that's like, you know, and it's not to say like all of those things are bad. Like if that's what you want and you're genuinely happy, cool, innit? I've got nothing against it. My life probably will in some capacity look like that, but I'm also free from the cage of time. I'm not under pressure to have kids by a certain age, or be married, or, you know, do this by that age, or have this, I don't know, fucking earn this amount of money by this time and have this size house. But like, it's all just a fucking prison.
Well, this is what I was saying to my mom the other day. You know, she was saying how proud of me she is, and like she forgets sometimes that I'm good. Like I'm really like in a way better position than any of us could have ever thought I would be in. And she's like, I said to her, can you imagine if I didn't quit my bank job? And she goes, you know, she said something to me when I quit. She was like, look, everyone else is moving on with their lives. Like, she wasn't hating on me. She was worried about me. And I really get that. Yeah, and I want to stress that. My mom's an angel. She was worried about me. And she's like, look, everyone else is moving on with their lives, the linear timeline, right? And I didn't see it like that. I was like, yeah. But if I take time and invest it now, then I can like create time as I want to experience it, as like a figure of 8 rather than a linear line.
Yeah.
Segue into another thing.
Ooh.
All right, there's another one, yeah. Who is Kang? And he goes, who I need to be.
Yeah.
I like that. So it's like people ask the question, who are you? And I could read you my document, you know, the statements that I'm living into and who I'm creating myself to be every day. But really, in any moment, I wouldn't say who I need to be, but if you ask me who are you, who I'm creating myself to be in this moment, who I want to be. And you could say, who would I need to be? Cool. Like we talk about that. Who would you need to be to get on a flight, go to India and enroll 20 people?
We're going to India tomorrow, by the way. Shout out
Isn't
India.
it today?
Oh shit, today.
Literally in a couple of hours.
After this.
Oh man.
We'll be in India when this comes out.
We will be, yeah. And there's a great power that comes with this. Like, who are you is not fixed. I remember I was hosting a clinic recently on business, and this woman said, look, I'm worried about talking to men because who I am is just, I'm very flirty. And I'm like, yeah, but who you are is not fixed. That's a choice. And then I went off into a whole thing about men's mental health. Like, men can be ignored for decades, yeah? Like, we don't get DMs from girls like, hey, can I get your phone number? It doesn't happen to us, generally. And when we're having that conversation, it's like pointing us back in the direction of who we are is a fucking choice. All the time, but only always.
But only always, yeah. That was a sick thing, because I saw it as like, the thing with Kang, right? It's like, he said it's who I need to be, and it kind of came from the place of like, I have no choice but to be this way, right? And you could also see it as, I'm choosing to live into this, because what he's saying is, I know what's coming. What's coming is the rest of me, my variants, and they're gonna fuck everything up.
Okay.
So I need to be the person, because he says it to Ant-Man. He goes, I know what's coming. He goes, just more of me. And basically, I want to be the one that stops the inevitable of what they're creating, which is just pure multiversal chaos. So he's like, I'm choosing to be the one that is making a stand for that's not happening. And he kind of gets exiled by the other Kangs and stuff. But he's like, this is who I need to be because I'm taking a stand for like what they're allowing to happen is chaos.
I like this as well because there's a breaking point when you want to change your life. We were talking about someone who's in our friend circle, shall we say, just before this. You know who I'm talking about. Who you are looks like a fixed point. And who you would need to be to change your life, it's like that. You got to be, I don't have a choice but to change. And that's why I love high levels of commitment. That's why I paid my coach for 2 years up front. That's why I'm paying the ultimate coach 200 grand. It's who would I need to be? One, to make the fucking money in the first place. And two, to make the most out of that. Like start living into it already. Be that way now. And I love this as a, if you want to cure yourself of anxiety, you want to cure yourself of being depressed or having a low, what's it called? Like not having a zest for living, let's say. If you want that, who would you need to be to create it? Because it's not just going to land on your lap because you're doing morning meditation.
Yeah. Well, here's
I got nothing against meditation, by the way. I like it.
Meditation's great.
It is.
Here's a hot take on the flip side of all this.
How hot?
Quiet. I saw the Kang, and like, again, when we're saying this is what we've seen, this is like our takes on, the things that were in the movie and stuff. But I saw how it resonated with me. Kang's character is he was a representation of anxiety.
Ooh.
Because he's like, I need to control everything. I need to get out of here, and I need to like, stop all of these people, because what they're gonna do is like they're gonna, they're making multiversal like crossovers, and like the world's gonna fall into chaos. I need to try and control the chaos, and he's a fucking madman because of it. He's like, the character is power hungry, but it's from like a madman's perspective. Do you know what I mean? He's like, and it's, to me, it was like what I was like when I sometimes when I still experience like anxious thinking. It's like you want to try and control everything, and you're like, you become like, you have like a madness about you where it's like, okay, but I need that to be perfect, and I need this to go the right way, and but what if that doesn't go like that, and what if this happens, and it's just like you're always living, or I was always living in with a sense of doom and gloom. Like I said it to you the other day, I don't know what happened this week, but like I had like a lot of stuff going on, like life admin stuff, and I said to you I was in the gym, and I felt like I was like, I've never had a panic attack, but I felt like I was about to have one. I had like this heavy like doom and gloom, like the world is gonna fucking end feeling just in the pit of my stomach. And I was on the pull-up bar, and I just felt like shit, like I feel like I'm just gonna fucking, something's gonna happen right here, right now. And I kind of like coached myself out of it in my head, and I just started to like ask myself, actually, like, is everything actually that bad? No. Okay, why isn't it that bad? Because this and this. And I started to find things that I was grateful for, and like my level of thinking went from being like that madness, like anxiousness madness, to like back down to like just gratitude and love and compassion. And I really saw that in Kang's character. He's just like, yeah, like, I need to get out of this place because I need to control all of this. And the whole point of him is like he's trying to control multiple timelines. And he's like, if the timeline doesn't stay as the sacred timeline, as they call it, and there's like little branches off of it, then that's where the chaos is going to happen. So he's basically trying to control every probability or every possibility that there could be, to make it fit within what he sees being right. That's fucking anxiety, man.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a great take. You weren't lying when you said hot take.
Yeah, hot, quiet as well.
Very hot. Another one. Don't look at them. They're just possibilities. They're not you.
Yeah.
Ties really nicely into what you just said about him trying to control everything. So all of the Ant-Mans and all of the Wasps, they all converge into one. And before that, they're each paying so much attention to their possibilities. I really like this for a bunch of reasons. So Ant-Man splits off into a bunch of different hims, and Hope splits off into a bunch of different hers. And it's, if you don't look at them, they're just possibilities. That's who you could be. And I always look at this like, okay, not always, but like sometimes I have these moments of like, who am I becoming if I don't go to kickboxing class today? And I can see that version of me, and I can see the trajectory he's on, and I can start entertaining that, or I can just don't look at him. It's just a possibility. Same with like, who am I? Who would I? I'm getting over the whole like excitement around a lot of things actually, but just like ganja, for example, I'm not really interested in smoking weed. I'm not saying I'll never do it again, but just like I can see it as a possibility, but it's just that. And this is with loads of things like eating junk food, eating healthy, cooking my food, not cooking, complaining about stuff, not complaining. They're all possibilities, but they're not you. They could be, but they're not. And I love this, like, as I've written a different part of this down. When the different parts of us all want the same thing, we work together.
Yeah.
So when Ant-Man's all like building that little tower to get him up there, they all the possibilities of us, they actually want the same thing.
Yeah.
They want to be at peace. They want to be, I don't like the term be happy, but I guess it's translatable. So I'll just say be happy, and content. And all the possible versions of us want the same thing. And when we're in harmony with that, and it'd be like, okay, so if I eat this junk food, I still want the same thing as if I don't eat the junk food. And that reduces the judgment that I have on the other. Because that's where, you know, like Ant-Man, when they split off into loads of different ones, they're like, I'm the original.
Yeah.
They're all judging each other. There's a lot of separation there. And the unity dissolves all of that judgment, and now they're all on the same team and they're able to achieve great things.
Yeah, they're unified, looking in the same direction. And this is like, I think it's a good analogy for coaching as well. It's like, you know, when we work with someone, it's like the first thing we want to know is like, okay, where do you want to get to, innit? It's giving us a direction to look in, and now we can be unified in like helping you become the person who can get to that point. And it's like, you know, if you don't have that direction, like the Ant-Man thing, they're all, you know, building that little Ant-Man tower, trying to get to the thing, the core or whatever it was. They didn't have that. It was just chaos. It was just, you know, not omni-regional, like you said, right? Whereas when you have the direction to look in, then it's easy to become unified, even within yourself, like you said. The direction you're looking is, I want to be more peaceful. I want to, you know, live a more fulfilling life, whatever that looks like for you. That's a unified place to look in. Like, so if you review of your kickboxing, you want to have a kickboxing fight. So the unified vision,
At least one,
is to have to go to kickboxing training. If I don't go, then I'm going to get my ass fucking handed to me on a plate. Or you might have a, you know, I was going to make a joke about, you know, when they show that, you know, Darren, the guy with the big head in the movie, and they show him like being built as a MODOK or whatever. Yeah. There's that little scene where he has like the little butt cheeks. That's going to be your little butt handed to you on a plate if you don't get training.
I ain't got much going on in the back, so that's a very accurate statement. I really like this. You know, when you unify, when you find unity in all of the possibilities of you, it's difficult to judge you. So like our mate that we were talking about again, like you said, bless their little cotton socks, like, oh yeah, they're a good egg, and you know, all of that. They are. And we all want the same thing. I know they want the same thing as we do. And if they're not, if we can really look for that in people, it's hard to have that, like, I call it having a fuck you on people. Then who wins? No one wins if you have a fuck you against. You're carrying it. It just annoys you. Speaking as someone who has had a lot of fuck you on a lot of things, which is becoming increasingly uncommon these days. I'd win when I drop all of that. Just like Ant-Man winning when he drops all of this. Okay, I'm the original. He's like, no, we need to be unified. Yeah. Forget about all of that.
Yeah. Yeah, sick. I love that. There's one other thing that came up for me was the, you know, Janet, the mum.
Oh yeah.
She has that like that shame, guilt thing hanging over her because she knows Kang's in the quantum realm, and she doesn't tell anyone about it in the, you know, the normal world. And she's got this like guilt shame thing, and you can see how like inauthentic as fuck she's being. You know, it's like she's got something that she knows, you know, she should, you know, I don't know, for her maybe forgive herself for, or like tell people about or something. But because she's like doesn't want to talk about the quantum realm ever. She's like, no, I don't want to talk about it. No, I don't want to talk about it. No, I don't want to. And you can see it's consuming her from the inside. Look at that. Don't want to talk about feelings. Don't want to talk about emotions. Don't want to talk about I'm having a bit of a bad day, but it's cool. I'm just going to brush it off. It's fine. Like, it consumes you from the inside because it's created from the inside. And again, like you saw me the other day, I was consuming myself from the inside when we were having that conversation. And I wasn't being, I mean, you can tell me, you've lived with me for long enough now. Was I being authentic that day? No.
Absolutely not.
Exactly, because I was allowing the consumption from the inside because I was feeling shame or maybe guilt, less so, but like something that was, we were talking about it, but I was still like holding on to it.
Yeah, and it comes back to when we put a meaning on a feeling.
Yeah.
Like if Janet or you or any of us, when we have negative, or I don't like to say negative, I'll say unpleasant emotions, and we put meanings on them, it just becomes even more of a thing. And if I didn't have any meaning on it, if I had this unpleasant feeling and then I didn't say, oh, do you know what, because of this it means this, or because of this I can't do X, Y, Z. If I just felt the unpleasant feeling and didn't put the meanings on it, or I could deeply see that any meaning I put on this is inaccurate, it can never be true because you can't prove it, then the game would change dramatically. It doesn't take the feeling away, but it offloads some of the heaviness.
Yeah.
And it can just be an unpleasant feeling instead of being a whole shitstorm of stuff.
Yeah. It's true. Because the heaviness comes from the story, right? That's the heft of the weight.
That's a real heft on a bitch.
Yeah. That's where the real weight of it is in the story.
Yeah.
If you can, again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier. See the subjective nature of the story, the weight falls away.
Yeah. This is another thing that I got from the movie. So the thing that Ant-Man and everyone, they can make themselves big and small. Becoming as big or as small as you want is a metaphor for the way we create ourselves. I'll say that one more time, Hef. Becoming as big or as small as you want in Ant-Man is a metaphor for the way we create ourselves. I remember I was walking with you in Athens and I go, I feel like I'm 10,000 feet tall.
Yeah.
It was really funny. Because I was like, I can't remember what we were doing. We were just walking. And the way that I was creating myself previously was I need to get taller without realizing how massive I had already become. And the same thing with like creating things as a big or small deal. So that shame and guilt that Janet's feeling, she can create that to be enormous. Oh my God, look how bad. Or she can create it to be small. Oh yeah, I was doing the best I could. I was doing the best I could with the thinking I had at the time. I'm not going to give myself a hard time for it because I'm not being that way anymore.
Yeah.
So if I talk about it, I'm not giving me a hard time. Doesn't matter if you do. And I don't think you will because you're my family. We can create things to be an enormous Ant-Man sized problem or a small Ant-Man sized problem. This is really important for all of us. Like, who are we creating ourselves to be? And if we're creating ourselves to be this gigantic figure, it doesn't mean that it has to be arrogance and ego and all that. It could be like, yes, I'm an enormous figure and I'm doing great things in the world, and it doesn't have to be, arrogant or up my own arse.
Yeah, I love that. That's it's a great show. Because I was trying to think about something for the big small thing, but it's like it kind of reminds me, like in Super Mario when you have the mushroom and it's like
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of another way of seeing it is like it's an expanding of your consciousness, or like an expanding of your being. You can see like how much more Ant-Man is capable of when he becomes big. Not that it's like less so when he's normal size, but like he's just, he can reach further, he can affect more things, he can have a larger say in matters. He was like destroying buildings and stuff. I think he like grabbed that ship out of the sky and all of those things. And there's the bit when, when they're falling through the quantum realm and he like puts his suit on and expands and he catches Cassie, and like he's expanding himself to be able to do something to help someone else. And it's like, I see when we expand who we're being in the world and allow our consciousness to expand, we have the same effect. We can be more effective in certain situations.
And there's certain situations, right? And we can shrink our the reference point of I or me, shrink it so that we can really be in service to other people.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna have a conversation with this person that I was telling you about before, and the I before would have been enormous. Oh, you got something to say about me. Now it's like, I'd love to hear it, because I moved out the way and I'm just here listening to you.
Well,
I'm tiny.
Well, you said it as well before. You said like, I'm trying not to give away too much, but like, just in case, innit? But you said like, I'd love to hear it because it's not really about me, it's about them.
That's how I want to create it. And this is what I'm saying. Like, if the me that I'm, if the reference point of Sachin in my mind is huge, like big Ant-Man, I'm not going to hear and see other people. If it's small, and I can inflate it and deflate it as I want. If it's small, it's going to help me with coaching people.
Yeah.
And if you're not a coach, it will help you have better relationships with people, because you can really hear them instead of hearing your ideas about you through them. I'll say that again because that sounded funny. You really hear them instead of hearing your ideas about you through them. I don't know if that's exactly what I said.
Yeah, it was.
Right.
Tongue twister though.
It's good, isn't it?
The sick one.
I'm good at those.
I don't know. I'm out with my takes.
All right, I got one more.
You got one more?
Yeah. Just because it's not happening to you doesn't mean it's not happening. Is one of the lines in the movie. Cassie is like, to her dad, like they were shooting tear gas at homeless people and blah blah blah, and this is a great analogy. I walk past some houseless people sometimes. They have homes. Everyone homes inside them. I'll walk past some houseless people, and just because it's not happening to me, it doesn't mean it's not happening. There's war going on. There's fucked up shit happening in the world everywhere. Just because it's not on my doorstep or in my family or whatever, illness, all that stuff, doesn't mean it's not happening. And it's just something that I think if we can bring an awareness to help us to navigate the world in a kinder way. Like, I was watching our episode of Everything Everywhere All at Once, and I cried in the movie a bunch of times, but one of the parts that really got me was when Evelyn, the main character, she starts fighting like her husband, and just being kindness everywhere. And that's what this line in the movie reminds me of, is like, how kind can you be? Because kindness is very important. As a possibility, the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely, man. And it's like that, and I like that it's the beginning of the movie, isn't it, where Cassie's like, yeah, but like, all right, you saved the world, but what are you doing now?
You've written a book about it. You keep talking about it.
But what are you doing now? Like, you've done one good thing, and
and then
and it's like, it's so true. Like, one good deed doesn't mean that you're done, innit? It's like, if you're really about helping people, be about helping people. Like, make it a way of being, right? Which is actually a great segue, in a way, into what I wanted to bring up next, if we're done with the
I think we're done with Quantumania.
So this young fellow sat behind me.
Yo, man like Mando.
Young Mando in the bando. We're going to talk about him, because Mandalorian season 3. Yeah, season 3 is coming out in a few days. And I wanted to talk about it because you haven't seen it, have you, Mandalorian?
I've watched a few episodes of season 1.
Oh man, what I love about this, is that the Mandalorian is basically, we'll talk about specifically this Mandalorian. Like, when he was a child, his home planet got destroyed by droids. I think it was droids. And he was basically orphaned, and his parents got killed and whatever. And he got taken in by the Mandalorian, who are essentially it's kind of like a religion in a way, right? They have you like live according to the rules of Mandalore, and the whole journey of him is like, he went from like nothing. He had nothing. He didn't have a house, not a home. He didn't have a house. He didn't have parents. His planet was basically destroyed. He had nothing. So he was literally like at zero. And then through his journey as a Mandalorian, he recreated himself into something, which is, he's like one of the best bounty hunters in the Star Wars universe, at least. Don't know about any other universe. And is really about like committing to a way of being, you know. And the whole thing with the Mandalorian is like they have a saying in it, like, this is the way. And it's like, this is the way of the Mandalore. Like, this is the way that we do things. This is the way that we're choosing to live. This is the way that we abide by our code. And one of the things that they abide by is that, like, they can't take off their helmets in presence of anyone else. Like, obviously when they're in private quarters, they can take their helmets off, but in the presence of anyone else, they're not allowed to show their face. Look at that with certain religions, you know, with like Islam, for example. You've got like the, you know, the headscarves and all of that stuff. Like, it's a way that him as a character and them as the, I don't know if you'd call them a tribe maybe, are choosing to live. And I love that, man, because it's about being committed to something that you're buying into. If you're choosing, okay, I'm choosing to be a Mandalorian, then you have to commit to the way of being that comes with that.
You can't do it half-assed.
Yeah, you're choosing to have a kickboxing fight, so you have to commit to the way of being that is going to make sure that you don't get your ass kicked, right? We're choosing to be coaches, so we have to commit to a way of being, not just in our business, in our lives, that equal authenticity around how we're living, so that we can then help our clients with that. We're choosing that.
And I'd like to quote my dad at this point. What kind of life coach has a messy room?
Yeah, this one.
Hey, I used to.
But that's it, right? And this is what I really see. It's like, it's really about committing to a way of being, and like, but properly like living in accordance to it. And to him, it's like, yeah, it's a bit of an ordeal, isn't it? It must be hot and sweaty in this helmet. Like, a lot of the planets they go to are like desert planets that are probably like 100 degrees. He has to keep his helmet on. It doesn't look very particularly comfortable. It probably gets all steamy inside. But he has to keep it on because this is the way.
I like the conversation around commitment with this, because it might not be socially acceptable. It might not be normal. And you're choosing to commit to it because there's something in there for you. There's a way of life in there, and it's doing something for you. This is why I love Islam, and this is why I think, and maybe you want to cut this out of the clip here, I don't know, but I'm about to get deep on you. This is why the West has a problem with Islam. It will always have a problem with it, because it's encouraging us to go against what the Western society is condoning and deeming appropriate as normal. It's normal to be really into showing off. Islam's about modesty. Cover yourself. Lower your gaze means don't stare at women on the street and sexualize them. What in all the advertisements, what do you see around here? Sex sells. I was on the train the other day, and there's this advertisement for this pill called Perfectil, and it's got a picture of a hot woman, and it says like, great for your hair and your nails and shit. I was sitting there like, so you want me to think that this is perfect? Whereas that, like, Islam's showing you like, hey, cover it up. No one cares. Keep it moving. Talk to each other based on your personality. You know, like, I think that there's a commitment that I'm looking in the direction of making, especially when it comes to talking to women. And it's making more and more sense, because I don't have all of that as normal for me anymore. And when I see it, like, someone asked me yesterday, oh, do you know any good nightclubs? I said, I haven't been to a nightclub in years. I can't remember the last time I went. I don't really want to go anytime soon. The last time I went to a nightclub in London was 2015. Oof. And I don't really feel like going anytime soon, because what am I going to do there? In the context of Mandalorian, it would be like someone saying to Mandalorian, do you want to take your helmet off and just show me what your beard looks like? Yeah. Why would I want to do that? I've got a specific direction I'm looking in. I'm getting a lot out of it. It's a spiritual path for me. When I go and do this with you lot, I'm entertaining the opposite of what I'm committing to, which is going to take me on diverging paths. Yeah. And I see this with a lot of things. Like, if you have a business and you're in your first like year or so, but all you want to do is have a good time and go out with your mates and talk shit, fair enough, you can. Diverging path. If it's just a one straight path of like, this is the direction I'm going, it doesn't mean you work 24/7. It's like slowing down, especially with the mental health conversation. Yeah. If the helmet equivalent is, I'm committing to having great mental health, well, taking the helmet off could look like engaging in gossip, drama, playing into BS mind games with other people, trying to get back at people, trying to play politics with people. It's all diverging paths.
Yeah, and that's why, like, I think it's such a sick, like, analogy in the Mandalorian for that, man, because it's really about, okay, choose how you want to be and commit to it. Don't diverge. Don't take the piss within it. Like, stick to it. Be it. Like, he's a fucking grown man, innit? He can take his helmet off if he wants to in front of other people. And spoilers, in the second season he does. I know, but it's like, it goes to show that, like, he's choosing that path. He's choosing the path for himself because it aligns with the values that he wants to live. It aligns with, there's something that he sees in being a Mandalorian that aligns with him here. And no one can say otherwise. No one can be like, oh, Mando, you're wrong. Like, you should take your helmet off. People are like, no. For me, it aligns.
Yeah. And that's another thing, man. Like, carving your own path in the world rather than trying to fit in and be normal. This is a great representation of that. Find something that really resonates with you, find something that fits you, and be with that. Like, really commit to it instead of like dabbling in what's normal and all that bullshit.
And another thing that
you're having a bit of trouble there, Chief.
Yeah, this little piece keeps coming off. I want to put it on the floor because I'm scared I'm going to break. Another thing that I know you haven't been watching it is The Last of Us. Oh man, I'm really digging. I played the game, innit? I know you haven't played the game either. The game is one of the best games ever.
Strong claim.
Ever. Sick. I was so into it when it came out. And when the TV show came out, it was equally funny because it's got Pedro Pascal, who also plays Mandalorian. But side note, what I'm really getting so far from the few episodes that are out, the season's not finished yet, is it's about love. The whole show is about love. Learning to love, the impact of love on other people, the things that love can make you do, the way that you are being when you're coming from a place of love. Like, there's so many stories of like Joel, who's the main character, and Ellie. It's like they're trying to get her to a safe point, because I'm not going to give loads of spoilers, but she seems to be immune from the infection that's ravaged the world. And Joel's been tasked to take her there. Now, he lost his daughter when the outbreak happened 20 years earlier. And he's learning to find that love again through spending time with Ellie, because obviously she, in a way, is sort of similar age to his daughter when she passed away. So he's like, you can see his journey is about learning to love. It's a part of himself that he shut off and locked away for 20 years because he was like, fuck the world. Like, why did my daughter have to die? Why does this have to happen? Like, living with a lot of resentment, right? Whereas like the innocence in Ellie is showing him like what love means again. And then there's like loads of other stories dotted around in the series. There's like Bill and Frank is another one. These two guys who just happen to come across each other and they fall in love and they live this like beautiful life together. And ultimately they're living with each other for each other because it's all they've got. There's no one else in the world as far as they know. It's just them two. And they're learning to love each other, protect each other, help each other, nurture each other, grow each other. And it's just like it's such a beautiful message, and love doesn't always mean like it's going to be a good, like it's going to result in something good as well. That's another strong message in the program. It's like love, like there's a rebellions happening within certain cities because people are like, no, we're sick of like, Fedra, which is like the new like police or whatever you want to call it, are like, basically being tyrants in the city. You can't leave the quarantine zone, like keeping everyone under lock and key, like treating people like shit. And there's like rebellions that are happening out of love for each other, out of love for the people as a whole. But it means some people have died in the rebellion, but like that it's coming from a place of love. And I think there's a really strong message that like love is something that can be channeled into many things. But if you're really coming from the place of love, then you can, especially within yourself, it has great powers for you. It can make people do things that they never thought they could possibly do before. Do you know what I mean? And I think that like is such a strong message in this show. And it's, oh man, I'm loving it. It's sick. You need to watch it.
I'm going to play the game first, then I'll watch it and give it a chance to catch up.
Yeah.
On the thing about like love isn't always going to result in something nice. You know, people can love things, maybe themselves, so much to the point where it creates detriment in their lives, detrimental results. I've loved carving my own path for a long time, and I used to pride myself on not giving a shit about what people think. And I find myself caring more about the feelings of strangers than ever, and the people around me. And what's changed is like what I thought was love for myself before was actually not. It was something else. I was doing the best I could at the time, I thought it was. But really what I've seen is like love isn't a blanket positivity.
Yeah.
It's going to create division sometimes. Not, but us will create division based on what we love and what we don't. And who we love and who we don't. And it reminds me of something that the ultimate coach said to me one day. He was like, his wife has the distinction of family, like this is my son, this is my husband, whatever. He goes, I don't have that. Everyone is my brother, everyone is my sister, everyone's my grandson, whatever. I was like, wow, that's a strong place to come from. And the power of love is something that, like, love conquers all, but it has to be, you have to learn how to wield it first. It's like an enormous axe or like a sword and a shield. Like, you don't just pick it up and start throwing down.
Yeah, I love that. Love conquers all, but you have to learn how to wield it. That's a bar.
What a bar to end on.
It is a great one. It is a great one. So we're heading off to India today.
Woo!
Shout out everyone who's going to be in India. We're going to bring our equipment with us, well, some of it anyway. We're going to try and get some recordings out there. But we'd love to know like what you're hearing in this episode for yourself, especially if you've seen Quantumania. Especially if that's you. I'm talking to you right now. You. Yes, you.
And if you haven't seen it, get to the cinema, watch it, don't pirate it, and then come back and watch
Yeah,
this.
you have to go see it in the cinema. The special effects requires cinema viewing, not pirate TV stuff.
Yeah.
So let us know like what you're making from this episode. Like what's the learning you're taking from it. That's why we do this. We want to open conversations, not just, open the cameras and talk into them.
Yeah, you can catch us on Nerd Life Coaches on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'm Sachin.
I'm Alex.
And we'll see you next time.